You are not dead! I will be helping you out today. First things first, you're not supposed to be here. Secondly, you are very, 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 very small.
Welcome to Grounded. Either you're discovering this game for the first time or a returning player, this game is amazing and will keep you busy for hundreds of hours. With rich lore, hidden mysteries to solve, and the need to keep yourself alive, Grounded is one of the best, still under construction games of the year. Today, I would like to present to you, in no particular order, my top 8 reasons you should be playing Grounded. Number 1. Grounded is a survivalist game with a building system. Similar to games like Minecraft and Ark, you start the game in the backyard, having woken up as a shrunken teenager the size of an ant. You are given no clues as to why you're tiny or what you should be doing, so naturally, you'll wander around for a bit before discovering you can collect materials and craft tools, and using those tools, you can collect larger building materials to build with. Want to build a small house? Easy! Looking to put together a fortress? Well, that'll take a lot more time, but you can totally do that too. The game also has a day-night cycle, which can bring with it its own challenges. Some of the more deadly insects and spiders are nocturnal, so they'll love when you stay up all night. But in addition to that, you have a food and water gauge to keep track of, and at the dawn of each morning, both gauges will almost certainly be near depletion. Don't let them fall too low, or you won't be long for this world. If this feels like it's up your alley, then the rest of my list will only be cherries on top. Grounded is a survival game, but it doesn't mean you have to sleep in the dirt. My number 2 reason is a bit more straightforward, and it regards the story in the game. Grounded won't go out of its way to show you anything meaningful in the story, and that in and of itself is reason enough for me to recommend this game. You don't have to play through the story if you don't want to. There are ways to get what you want without discovering the story. More experienced players can view this as a sort of challenge to avoid story elements and unlock all the crafting recipes, but playing the story is also a great reason to play the game. With everything in the backyard being so well hidden, there are only a few places that come to mind that require earlier sections of the game to be resolved first. What this means is that you can tackle different parts of the story out of order, and unless you already have foreknowledge of the game, it'll be pretty hard to tell you're doing anything in any proper order. Which leads to another example of what I love so much about this game: the research notes. You'll find tapes, notes, and other clues throughout the game that'll tell you about Ominent, the secret organization that's seemingly behind your recent ant-sized situation. Reading these notes and listening to the tapes, you'll be able to piece them together to form the story for yourself. It's like one big puzzle, and I thoroughly enjoyed piecing it together. Number 3 is more my preference than something I can say definitively makes the game better, and it's the combat of Grounded, or rather how they chose to handle the combat system in this game. Like most other games, there's a difficulty setting when you create a new world, and the world difficulty will obviously have some impact in the combat, but from what I've seen, it only affects health bars and damage. The insects and spiders of Grounded each have a unique AI that tells them how to handle combat, and this seems to remain the same across the difficulties. For example, an orb weaver spider can shoot a web ball at you to try and get you trapped to one spot, but it also has a bite attack. The spider will dance around you and decide how to attack you based on distance from the player and other behind the scenes AI math stuffs. But with enough combat experience under your belt, you'll learn what these patterns are, when they'll do which attacks, and you can learn how to fight each insect better. You can even ultimately reach a skill level where you almost never get hit. So while some of the bugs are really dangerous, you can get good enough that they'll never touch you. But skills aren't everything. Some bugs will find ways to hit you. Like with most games today, Grounded has a multiplayer option, and this is my number 4 reason to play. You can play with your friends. But that's not the interesting part to me. More specifically, you can create a single player world and play in it for as long as you want. And when you decide you want to, you can play with your friends. You don't have to create a new game and start over. You can load your single player world up as the multiplayer world, keeping all of your things and all of your progress. This option won't be fun for everyone, but I really enjoy this setup. As a creator, I can invite anyone I want to join me for a few hours of fun, but I can also give tours of my builds to other players in the game. The only downside is there doesn't seem to be a way to do the reverse. I can't make my multiplayer game a single player game. At the end of the day though, you can play single player, multiplayer, and a mix of both with the same world save file. Number 5 is definitely subjective. Grounded gives you a unique experience, one embedded in our real world pop culture. What is it like to be tiny like an ant? If you've ever seen Honey, I Shrunk the Kids or Honey, I Shrunk Ourselves, movies built on the idea of being the size of an ant, you may have fantasized what life would be like being so tiny. Grounded gives you that experience. You get to run through forests of grass, explore anthills, and see everyday items such as soda cans, apple cores, and unfinished hot dogs up close and giant. Things that seem ordinary and even boring become fascinating terrain to explore. You won't get an experience like this anywhere else. If my number 2 reason got you a little worried about the story, then my number 6 reason will hopefully bring you back. The game has some elements of progression. Obviously the story itself, as you collect notes, explore secret labs, and learn about the people who shrunk you down, you'll discover what these people are really like and what they're trying to do. But there's more than just progressing through the story. Some craftables in the game are locked behind items in the game called Burgle chips. You find a friendly enough robot named Burgle, and he's your main man for quests in the game. And sometimes he'll ask you to bring him back a Burgle chip. Burgle chips look like tapes that are hidden, usually at the end of a secret lab, and when you bring them back to Burgle, he'll unlock new crafting recipes. Usually for building, but sometimes tool upgrades as well, that you can buy using the game's currency, raw science. So maybe you've seen some gameplay footage, and you notice the buildings are using something that looks like a brick, but you can't figure out how to make those for yourself. Well, odds are, if it's building related, Burgle is holding the secret to those recipes. But don't worry, if you're not too fussed about what you can build with, and more about surviving, you can still get most of the tools, weapons, and armor without ever setting foot in a secret lab. Number 7 may be my favorite reason yet. The backyard is absolutely filled with hidden treasures, deadly traps, and mystery after mystery. I have over 150 hours of gameplay, and I'm still not totally sure I found everything yet. In fact, since the game is still in early access, not all of it is complete, and there's definitely areas I've discovered that are locked up, and I know I can't get in until a future update. However, with everything that has been added, you can find something hidden almost everywhere. A secret lab, a small hole in the ground that leads to caverns of twisting caves, a giant spider's den. The list goes on and on. There's even some locations that seem pretty mundane until you've revisited the area for the 12th time and have an aha moment, realizing what secrets are hidden there. No spoilers, I promise, but I was recently exploring an area of the game for the 100th time, looking for food, when I found not 1, not 2, but 4 secret raw science neatly tucked away, out of sight, but easy enough to find. This game is filled with treasure. And finally, this brings us to my number 8 reason you should play Grounded. It's in early access. That's right. That's one of my top 8 reasons. The game isn't finished yet. You can buy the game now and play through it without worrying about future updates. That's all free after you buy the game. This year we had 2 major updates, the Shroom and Doom update and the Hot and Hazy update, both of which I got without doing anything. I already bought the game last year and I get everything for free now. But you may be asking yourself why you should play an incomplete game. And I would say to you that because Grounded doesn't necessarily rely on its story to play the game, you will actually be buying many versions of this game. I got it when it first released and it was missing a ton of content we have today. It felt like a different game then. You got all the excitement of being tiny, but there were fewer bugs, fewer labs, and just fewer things in general, but it never felt empty or like it was missing anything. So with each update, they move things around to better fit the updated areas and story. So I've gotten to replay the game many times with each time being different. A burgle chip that was once hidden in one secret lab has now moved to a new secret lab on the other side of the map. Some weapons that you could craft right away now require certain parts of the story to be complete first. Each new update changes the path of the game, and it's truly an experience you can't get back. Once the game is complete, that'll be it. Maybe we'll get another update after it's complete, but you can't count on that. Right now, there's a ton of space in the backyard that literally has yellow police tape blocking off areas that says under construction, where they'll be updating and adding things later. And I mean a ton of space. We could easily see 4 or 5 more updates if they want before the game is officially complete. Don't miss out on the unique playthroughs. I could go on and on about how great Grounded is and why you too should be playing it, but instead of listening to me talk about it, why not just go play it? So I'll conclude things here. If you found this video helpful or informative, please consider leaving a like, perhaps subscribing, and if you really like showing your appreciation, there's a link for my Patreon in the description down below. All of my Patreon members get early access to all my videos, not unlike the early access to Grounded you could be enjoying right now as well. So, as always, leave a like if you like, subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you guys in the next one.